Hello everybody and welcome to chapter number 12, Land, Capital Markets, and Innovation. And in this chapter, we're going to go ahead and take a look at all the other factors of production and see what type of markets are going to develop for them. We have land, we have physical capital, we have human capital, and then finally technology. So we lump all of our other factors of production into this particular chapter. Labor is probably the most important factor of production, which is why it gets its own chapter, but that's something besides the point. In this chapter, we actually go ahead and get a little bit more into finance. So if you like finance, this is going to be the chapter for you. If you don't like it, well then too bad, because we have to cover it. So when we talk about physical capital, we'll talk about the time value of money, also take a closer look at stocks and bonds. So let's go ahead and see what type of markets are going to develop for the rest of our resources and factors of production. And in each of these type of markets, we're going to do some type of supply and demand analysis and also see a few of the idiosyncrasies within each of these factors of production and what makes them unique compared to all of our other factors of production. So the first factor of production, or just if we want to get a review of all of our factors of production, we have land, we have labor, we have physical capital, and we have ideas. We've already tackled labor in the previous chapter, so let's go ahead and start with the first factor of production in this chapter with land. So if you remember all the way back from chapter number 2, what is included in land? So if you remember, you'll notice that land is going to include land in the usual sense, so the physical land that you're sitting or standing on, and of course the natural resources. You can't forget about the natural resources. So here, just as a review, land is going to include land in the usual sense. So includes land in the usual sense. So we need land to build things upon. So physical land, what you're sitting on right now, what you're standing on right now, that is included in land. And of course, the natural resources. So natural resources, oil, water, rivers, oceans, minerals, what have you. Natural resources are also going to be included with our idea of land. And in order for us to utilize land, what do we have to pay? We have to pay the specific payment that we make to it is called rent. So rent is the return to land, the return or price of land to land. So remember, we want to get very specific with these particular payments. The one thing that makes land unique among all of our other factors of production is the amount of land that we have is finite. So we can't necessarily build up more land. The land that we have here on planet Earth, that is the amount of land that we have for the rest of time until we pretty much destroy planet Earth. But here, land, the supply of land is going to be seen as finite. Because the land is finite, that means the supply is going to be perfectly inelastic. So the supply of land is perfectly inelastic, and therefore, if we want to figure out how much we want to use for land, it's going to be entirely determined by the demand side of the market. So increases, decreases in demand, that is going to be the sole determinant of exactly how much land is going to cost, i.e. its rent. So take a look at the supply and demand graphs. Nothing unusual here. We still have the downward sloping demand curve, but because the supply of land is finite, it's going to be fixed at L0 quantity of land, and it doesn't change at all. We have the equilibrium point of R0 right here, so our equilibrium rent is the intersection of supply and demand, and this is going to be exactly the price that we need to pay in order to use this particular land area. And like we said, it's all about the demand. So the important adage, or the sort of common adage about real estate, is location, 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 and that is essentially what we talk about in terms of demand. If we have increases in demand, it's going to cause the prices of this land to go up. If we have decreases in demand, it's going to cause the prices of that land to go down. And there's a lot of different factors that can shift this demand. So just to go ahead and think about a few things. So why did you guys decide to move where you are? So if you're in Miami, why exactly did you decide to move in Miami? And there's a lot of different reasons for that. There's good weather, there's the education, you maybe want it close to your family, you maybe want it close to your job, there's the culture, there's food, maybe there's something to do with crime rates compared to other areas. All of these are going to be encapsulated under the demand factors and essentially shows us exactly how much rent we're going to be paying within this particular area. And once again, we can easily see how the differences in demand for a lot of areas are going to be causing the high prices that we may see in some cities versus the low prices that we may see in other cities as well. And we also may be constrained by the supply in that particular area, because sometimes In some areas, we have wide open spaces where there's not a lot of people, but other places, there's a lot of people and not enough supply to go around. So that may also cause a high increase in the rent prices there. So just for example, take the median home prices here in Miami. Median home prices roughly about $370,000. So everywhere in Miami right here. So obviously near the waterfront, where all the sort of nice areas are going to be downtown Miami, those prices are going to be ridiculously high, and that sort of drives up the median home prices. But we see a lot of demand factors happening right here. We're close to the water. It's a good location. There's a lot of culture there. There's always entertainment, things to do. So that can be one of the reasons why we see very high prices in Miami. If we go to another location, say San Francisco, you notice that the median home prices are even higher than that, nearly close to $1.5 million for the median home price. And once again, we see it's all going to be about the demand factor. So in terms of demand factors, people want to be close to the downtown area. People want to go ahead and get the nice areas, very, very close to their jobs. There's a whole bunch of jobs in San Francisco. And with all of this, it helps to drive up the home prices. So places that we probably can't afford nowadays. But if we go ahead and turn to our attention to another area, say Flint, Michigan, and we finally find a place where I can actually afford, so the median home prices in Flint, Michigan, about $25,000. And why are home prices in Flint, Michigan so low? It's essentially because it's not a very great location to be living. It's in Michigan, pretty close to Detroit. There is actually clean water running through the sewers now, but there's just a stigma of living in this location where there is no clean water. There's not great education. There's probably a lot of crime here as well. So once again, a lot of these demand factors showing us exactly why location is so important, and that demand is going to essentially be the main focus or the main factor in determining the rent prices. If we wanted to go ahead and be a little bit more general with our analysis, we can say that the supply of land may not necessarily be fixed, but we can also go ahead and improve or make new land. So there's a lot of different areas where we can improve land or artificially expand it. So Hong Kong Disneyland is a great example of this. It was built on land reclaimed from the ocean. So they basically dumped a whole bunch of sand into the ocean, and when they dumped this whole bunch of sand in the ocean, they created an island, and they were able to actually make an entire theme park on that island. So that is one way where we can actually create more land. So the supply of land may not necessarily be entirely perfectly inelastic or fixed as we may have assumed, just going on a little bit more general case. There are also other sort of examples of this. We have Balboa Island, we have Star Island in Miami where all the celebrities live, and they basically did the same things that they did in Hong Kong Disneyland. They basically said, hey, let's go ahead and build an island right in the middle of the waterway, and here all the rich people can live, and the poor people can sort of drive by and say, hey, this is where all the celebrities live. Let's go ahead and see the sort of fashionable lives that they live. While we do learn that demand is going to be the most important factor in determining rents, there are going to be a few reasons why you yourselves and also firms and corporations may tend to congregate or agglomerate near one another. And we'll go ahead and wrap up that land chapter in the next video when we talk about industrial agglomeration. I'll see you guys there.